Hey guys, it's Tara and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making Brooklyn style crusty Italian bread. It is delicious. So if you've ever wanted to learn to make bread, today's the day. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified each time I post a new video. Okay guys, let's dive right in. Put 1.5 cups of warm water in a glass container. To that add 1 teaspoon of cane sugar. Then grab some active dry yeast and add 2.5 teaspoons to the mix. Then you'll lightly stir. This is the stuff that has the bread rise and get so delicious. So you want to start this first because it has to activate. It takes only a few minutes. So then set that to the side. Next, we're going to grab a big measuring bowl. I'm using my stand mixer bowl. And to this, we're going to add 2.5 cups of bread flour. It's really important that you use bread flour for this. Next, we're going to add 1 cup of spelt flour. Spelt flour is very high in protein and is nutty. It's delicious. To that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. Salt is very important also in bread making. Then we're going to give that a nice mix. Normally I would just have my stand mixer on. I just wanted to kind of show that it's not very hard to do it by hand. I prefer to use my mixer now that I have it. It just makes it a lot more convenient. But I just wanted to show. Now here we have the yeast water, and you can see how it's frothy, and we're just gonna add that straight in. Just pour it right in. Perfect. It has a really good smell too. You can tell the yeast is activated by the smell. Then I'm just gonna stir it, and we're gonna see how quickly it's gonna start coming together. It doesn't take long. Just about perfect. I'm gonna finish this off in my stand mixer just to show you guys what that looks like. If you were gonna keep doing it by hand, you'd have to really get your hands in there at that point. So here I have my stand mixer with my dough hook, and I just have it set to speed 2. It's the recommended setting. And you can see how nicely it's coming together. Now this kind of bread is supposed to be really sticky. But I decided to add just a little bit more of the spelt flour. And this is something that your temperature in your house has a lot to do with for how sticky it will be. So you just have to play it by ear. You can see it's mixing really well. I decided to stop it here and scrape down the sides. This is a really good practice to do. That way you make sure there's nothing stuck all the way at the bottom of the bowl. If you're using your hands, obviously you can feel it. But I find that I like to just kind of scrape the bowl down and just be sure. You can see how incredibly sticky it is. So this dough is almost just about perfect. So I'm gonna just turn it on just for another couple of minutes. In total for kneading time, it's maybe about 5 minutes. So it's really not too long. Then this is what we're left with. At this point, we're gonna get a clean bowl, and I'm gonna use some coconut oil spray, and this is to prevent it from sticking to the bowl because next we're gonna have it rise. So then we take the dough. You can see just how sticky it is. It's really stuck to my fingers. Yeah, make sure your hands are clean. I wash my hands constantly. And to that, we're going to put just a little bit of cooking spray on top. You could also just brush it with some olive oil or coconut oil. Then I'm gonna take some plastic wrap. I have this kind of plastic wrap. You can use any kind of plastic wrap. I recommend plastic wrap over aluminum foil. I feel like it gives it just a tighter fit. We don't want any air to get in there. And then next, I'm just gonna place a towel over it just to make sure it's weighed down. Then place it in someplace warm to rise. I usually either stick it in the microwave, not turn it on, or in the oven, and just leave it there for about an hour. to 3 hours. When we're ready, we're going to preheat the oven to 475. Next, we're going to lightly flour our work surface. And make sure you get it on your hands too. It's pretty sticky, the dough. That should do it. Okay, let's grab our dough. It has definitely at least doubled or tripled in size. And notice how airy it is. So we're gonna just remove it from the bowl. Because we sprayed it with that nonstick spray, it comes right out. Okay, now here's one of the best parts of it. We get to get our hands in there. So I'm gonna kind of just rip a piece off. And we don't wanna work this too much because it'll make the bread too tough. We wanna keep it nice and airy. So here I'm just kind of stretching it out to kind of form a baguette shape. And then I'm gonna turn it into like a circle because I wanna make a round loaf. Some of my favorite memories from Brooklyn are eating a delicious round loaf on Sunday morning. We're not going for perfection here. We're just going for a basic kind of shape. I'm trying to make it somewhat even so we don't have one part of it that's really thin. That looks good. Okay, now I'm gonna break off another piece. Let's add a little bit more flour. It's really sticky. And you can just have fun. You can make just about any shape you want. You could actually just leave it as one big loaf of bread, or you can cut it up and divide it into small kind of little rolls. It's whatever you want to do. So with this one, I'm just kind of making like a circle. Perfect. Now the last one, I like a nice big piece of bread. You slice it up and it's just so good. So this, I'm gonna just leave one big piece. Now just a warning, this makes a lot of bread. There. That looks just about perfect. Now, because we've messed with this dough somewhat, we want to let it rest a little bit more. But you don't have to get too concerned with that. I'm just going to let it rest while the oven's warming up. Perfect. Okay, I almost have it just about right. Okay. Perfect. Now I'm going to lightly cover it with some plastic wrap. I don't want to stick the wrap down on the dough because it'll stick, because we didn't spray the top of it, and that's fine. I'm just covering it so it doesn't dry out. See, it's pretty sticky. Okay. That's just perfect. Okay, it's been just about a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and check out how much more that dough has risen. Yeast is a pretty amazing thing. Okay, here I have my pizza stone. I've taken it out of the oven and I'm just sprinkling on some cornmeal. You want to be pretty generous with this because we don't want it to stick. Okay, then carefully pick up. I picked the big one up first and I'm just shaping it to the pizza stone. There's really no need for perfection. You can make it any shape you want. I'm just making sure that that cornmeal is underneath all sides of the bread so it doesn't stick to the pizza stone. I've made the mistake of not putting enough, and then you kind of ruin the bottom of the bread. So it's better to make sure it can slide around right now. There. Perfect. Now I'm going to just add one more piece on this. This pizza stone is a medium-sized pizza stone. If you have a really large pizza stone, you could probably fit them all on there. But I'm going to use this for these two, because that third one won't fit on this. I'm trying to leave some room between them. If they're touching, they'll probably just turn out to be one big piece of bread. Plus, it's going to rise more. when it gets in the oven. Okay, now I'm taking some water and my pastry brush, and I don't want to soak the top, I just want to kind of moisten it a little bit, and I'm pressing very lightly. I don't want to push hard on this and ruin the airiness that's inside. Boy, look at that dough. It just looks so good. Now at this point, you can either leave it. I love sesame seeds. These are raw sesame seeds. They have not previously been toasted. And I'm just gonna pour it right on there. You can use poppy seeds. You could pretty much put anything on this that you want, or you can put nothing on. Boy, that's gonna be so good. Okay, so I'm gonna set this aside. I actually stuck it in the oven. Now here's my small pizza stone. I'm working very fast here because I did put that other one in the oven and I don't want it to do too much until everything's in there. And this one I'm just kind of free-forming. Looks good. Now with this, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna lightly brush some water on top. Okay, now I'm gonna stick this in the oven. Okay, see, I've got them on the top rack, and there is my cast iron skillet underneath. Now you have to be very careful with this. Notice there's nothing in it. I'm taking a pitcher of water. The water is cold. And now I'm gonna carefully pour it in. Do not get close to that steam. It is extremely hot. Now as quickly as you can, shut that oven door. And it's gonna do its magic. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm gonna set my timer. Now this can vary depending on your climate and how thick or thin your bread is. So 25 minutes is a good estimate. Here we go. I actually left it in for 30 minutes. So here's the one. Be careful. This pizza stone is extremely hot and so is the bread. Oh my goodness. Look at that. It's extremely hot. Perfect. Just want to make sure it all fits on there. Okay, now I'm going to slice into it. This bread is not a typical loaf of bread you'd make in the oven that's soft. It's crunchy on the outside. It's absolutely perfect. Look at that. The texture of that, it's delicious. So I'm just cutting up a few pieces. Just perfect. You can make this dough, remember, into any shape you want. This smaller one is good for little chunks of bread if you want to have it with pasta or some other type of dish. I wish you guys could actually smell this. It smells delicious. And here's the large loaf that I sliced. Oh my goodness. It has, seriously, the best texture. Look at that. Airy. It is not a very dense bread. That's why I love it. The spelt flour just adds a lot of extra awesomeness to it. Perfectly golden on the outside. You guys have got to try this bread. So here's the dinner that I made. I made some zoodles with meat sauce and meatballs, and there's my delicious bread. I figured I'd save some on the carbs with the pasta so I could eat more bread. Well, that's all for today, guys. Thanks for joining me. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.